Good evening and welcome to the Cedar Falls, City of Cedar Falls Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for this Wednesday, November 6th, 2019. David, could we have the roll?
Thank you, Mr. Holtz. Atkins. Here. Hartley. Here. Holst.
Here.
Larson.
Here.
Leeper.
Here.
Lynch.
Here.
Perdot is gone. Saul.
Here.
Wingert.
Here.
Thank you very much. Our first item of business tonight would be the approval of the minutes from the October 23rd, 2019 meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Seeing as we have nobody in the audience tonight, I don't think we're going to have any public comments, so we'll skip right through that. And get to our new business. We have one item of business tonight, and that is a site plan amendment and first amendment to conditional zoning agreement with Mills Fleet Farm signage plan at 400 West Ridgeway Avenue. Well, David, you want to bring us up to speed on that?
Okay, thank you. I'd like to introduce this item here for consideration. So yeah, we have a site plan amendment which pertains to the location of a pole sign for the Mills site at the corner of Ridgeway Avenue and Highway 58 at 400 West Ridgeway. Along with this site plan amendment, we want to take a look at the conditional zoning agreement because there's some stipulations involved in this process. So I'm going to go over those details right now. So a little zoning history on this property. Back in July of 2018, the Planning and Zoning Commission looked at rezoning a approximately 50-acre parcel down at the corner of Ridgeway and 20 for a new commercial development. And then that proceeded through the summer and into November when the council actually adopted the zoning ordinance or the zoning change from A1 to Highway 1 in November, and along with that was a zoning agreement. And normally we typically do some zoning agreements when we do a zoning, and those kind of call out some details like improvements of public streets and details of site plan review and those type of features. One condition on this was this parcel or tract E there down at the southeast corner, you might remember this, was included in a highway corridor preservation zone that was established by the DOT, and that was part of a study of the 58 corridor from Green Hill down to Ridgeway. They really set aside some land, but they established this preservation zone in the case of improvements to those three intersections. And calling out in the zoning agreement in that tract E is that needs to be reserved for open space. No structures, no signs, no fences. Parking lots are allowed in this tract area until deemed appropriate for future development of possible highway. Could be an interchange there or a ramp in that area. So that was set aside as part of that zoning agreement and the final plat on that area. So as the zoning went through, the site plan kind of went through Planning and Zoning Commission in October of 2018, and that was, again, for the Mills Fleet Farm store and then the C store that's currently under construction. That went to P&Z on November of 2018. So if you kind of remember that pylon sign, which is the large sign for the Mills store, that was located just off the southeast corner of the store area or the outside building materials yard. And that sign is 25 feet tall, 200 square feet in area, and that meets the Highway 1 and the overlay zone standards. So the sign couldn't go any bigger or any taller in this area. So what the picture shows is the sign is sitting down at the bottom of this embankment. You can see it's kind of right in front of that structure, which is the yard enclosure for the building materials, the wood and lumber. And just to give you a little perspective, that building there is 25 feet tall. So the sign itself would be sitting in front of that. And this was kind of discovered during the process of construction and grading by the applicant and the property owner. And so they wanted to look at some additional or other areas for the sign to be located. So The sign is sitting down at the bottom of the hill, which is approximately 948 feet. The proposed sign is at the top of the berm, which is up at 960. So it's a 12-foot difference in that. The only hitch is it's in this tract E, which is part of the corridor preservation zone. So the applicant, the developer, which was, and the property owner, Mills, agreed that if that needs to be removed, we'll take that responsibility. Well, they also got a letter from the DOT saying, hey, we're fine with the location of this sign, just in case a ramp would go there, that property owner or tenant, which would be Mills, would have to move that sign out of the way. So that's basically the request at this time, is to move that. It's a site plan amendment, and we have to change that zoning agreement. So we're going to proceed with that. So with that in mind, we want to recommend approval of the plan amendment to move the sign up to the top of the berm, and then make that first amendment to the conditional zoning agreement.
Great, thanks, David. So I mean, the key thing is one, they agree to relocate the sign if necessary because of what happens in that tract. And second is the DOT is good with this.
Yeah, the DOT did submit that letter saying, okay, we'll approve this with the understanding that if that sign needs to be moved, it's on the tenant, the Mills, and the property owner. Property owner did submit that letter, and that's going to be called out in that amendment to the zoning agreement. We have to move that to council, which is a public hearing, so we set the date for public hearing and have 3 readings on that since it's tied to an ordinance. And that was done we set the date for public hearing last Monday with anticipating that we would get through the Planning and Zoning Commission and then had the first reading on November 18th.
Well, as we have nobody in our audience tonight, we're only performing for TV apparently. So commissioners, any comments, questions, motion?
Looks pretty straightforward.
I would move that you approve.
Is there a second? Second. Is there any further discussion?
My only comment would be, I would hope as we think about planning the new zoning requirements, that these kinds of things might not have to come before the commission.
All right, any other comments or questions? Seeing none, we're going to go ahead and vote. Votes are all in. We have all ayes. So that passes and can move right along then. That concludes all of our regular business. Are there any commission updates, David? Or?
Yeah, just kind of moving along with this adjusted meeting schedule here these 2 months of November, December. So we're looking at, again, the first and third Wednesday of the month for, just to work through the holidays. And then in January 22nd, we have a training section it's a joint meeting with the Planning and Zoning Commission and Board of Adjustment for ex parte and conflict of interest. So I'd like to see everybody there for that session. And then we talked about the downtown visioning plan. That's working its way through council. It got through council, and then earlier next year, we're going to be moving up to the College Hill area and kind of doing the same process up there. So kind of keep an eye out for that in the next few months.
Great. Thank you very much. Is there any other items? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. Moved and seconded. All in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you very much.